Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're watching this video from. My name is Mathapelo N, and I am a financial risk reporting and management information specialist at a top financial institution. And it is an absolute pleasure to be a part of your Monday motivation segment exclusive to EBL students. Maybe before I dive deep into what I'd like to talk about today, I'd first like to briefly introduce myself. So at a point in time, I was once an EBL student, and it was the best time of my life. I pursued a BCom accounting degree from the University of the Free State, as well as a BCom honors in business finance from Wits University, where I was majoring in corporate finance and investment. And that's how I got myself into the financial services sector. But what I'd really like us to talk about today is goal setting. It's a topic that we often underestimate and sort of, hear about it every day, and we neglect its importance in our lives. Yet it affects every single thing that we do, our daily activities, and everything that we do and touch for the day. So there's been over 35 years of research that was conducted over this principle, and one of the psychologists, actually two psychologists, which is Edwin and Gary. Yes, Edwin Locke and Gary Latham, if you're being technical, were the ones that actually came up with this goal setting theory and spent an extensive time researching this and actually figuring out what does it take for people to actually be successful. And what they ended up coming up with is that clear and specific goals really do set you up for the future. You're probably thinking, oh my days, now we are getting a really scientific, and now we are talking research-backed theories. But yes, it is actually research-backed. And what I want you to leave this Monday motivation having as a key takeaway is that having the end in mind, for me, is equivalent to goal setting, right? But having the end in mind is really what will set you up for success, whether it's in your academics, whether it's in your entrepreneurial journey, or whether it's in your employment pursuit. So the end in mind literally means when you come in or into the office, or when you wake up first thing in the morning and feel like, you know what, today I have a list of tasks that I need to do, but I'm actually not in the mood for it, or I'm not up for it. Having the end in mind is what will help you complete the task. What do I mean by that? If you know that as an entrepreneur, you need to be making cold calls, are they? When people harass us telephonically, yes. Those are the things. You need to make cold calls so that you can convert your prospects into leads and convert them from leads into actual clients where you've actually done the lead part. Your prospects are your leads. And then you have figured who that is. By the time you make the call, it's not about how daunting the task is at the time, but it's about the fact that as soon as they become your client, what value will you be bringing to them, and what value will they be bringing into your business, right? That's from an entrepreneur perspective. And then from an employer perspective, from an employment perspective, where you're an employee, you'd want to be in a position where when you can do work, right, your manager starts to see value in your work, because when you did it, you didn't just do your reports just so that your manager can see it. You did it with the end in mind that even if this report ends up at the most senior person, this is what I'd like for them to see, and this is what I'd like this report to say about me. So that is sort of like the end in mind attitude that you might want to absorb. And there are physical books that have been proven with theories such as this. For example, you have your 48 laws of power, setting up your intentions and being clear. So it's those sort of things where by the time you realize how powerful you actually are by setting up your goals, I think you'll be unstoppable personally, because it's a theory that we often overlook. Everybody talks about it, but the people who implement it are really ones that got to become top CEOs of firms that we now know of, household brands that we now can't get out of our mouths or even try to keep out of our houses, because they have been so integrated with our lives, because what they decided is the end in mind is what will get them forward. So I encourage you to please do the same. If there's any key takeaway that you're taking from this video, is that goal setting is as important as brushing your teeth, and that's how you make sure that you win the day, because it has been proven psychologically through research that these are the little things that separate the rats from the lions. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mathapelo N, and it was an absolute pleasure to be featured in your Monday motivation segment, which is exclusive for EVL students.